Hi YouTube. So I've been wanting to do a video on the Bane of Introverted Functions for a while, but it's um I'm just going to kind of do a quick video on it. I want to do something bigger, but I am not going to be able to tackle it because I'm just too lazy. So I'm just going to do some quick thoughts and see what you folks think. Anybody who wants to comment. So the Bane of Introverted Functions. So because specifically, I mean dominant introverted types. So, it's not to say that extrovert types don't also have their faults, but I'm just here focusing on what might be the faults of dominant introverted types, um, who have a function that has more depth than breadth. You know, introverted functions look inwards, extroverted functions look outwards. So more depth and breadth. Sometimes depth is good. Sometimes depth is good, and sometimes breadth is good. You know, they both have um, their good points. Introverted, dominant introverted feelers. Lots of people talk about this, but sometimes we are unable to look outside our personal standards and morals, and are unable to see things from other perspectives. Like when we have a value, we don't realize it's subjective. This may happen generally to less mature people, but the problem could arise that you don't realize that your values are subjective and that they're not universal. So if somebody does something that it goes against your value system, you might write that person off as a bad person because you think that they're breaking some unwritten golden rule of some kind, when in fact your morals are your own. Everybody has their own, and these kind of things I think are subjective, and and context always matters. So that is a bane of a dominant introverted feeler. They can be judgmental. Um, Bane of dominant introverted sensing, I think, is introverted sensing is very inwards focused in that it remembers its experience. It causes a person to form habits and feel most comfortable when they are engaged in those habits. I know some ISTJs and I know ISFJs, and they are all of them, all the ones I know, they are not what I would consider adventurous people. They like to have habits. They have daily kind of cycles that they go through, and they seem to really stick to them. Like, yes, they may go on vacations and stuff like that. Everyone does that, but I just mean more so than other people. It seems like dominant introverted sensors. They're very habitual. They know what they like and they stick to it. Um, what the bane of this function, I think, and I don't think that in itself is a bad thing at all. I don't. I mean, I need more of that in my life. When I find, I'm talking about myself, I'm just cutting. Whatever. I find when I have my SI going, I'm actually a lot happier. Like, I actually do well in routine, but anyway, it's harder for me to do. It seems natural to the ISFJs and ISTJs. The bane of their function, I think, is they have a hard time trusting anything that they haven't experienced themselves. You know, they're very wary of things that they don't have direct experience with, because they're always constantly just thinking of what they know through their own experience. So that is why sometimes they may pass by opportunities or seem be too hesitant to try new things because they are unable to trust outside knowledge. That I think is a potential fault or bane of their function. In the dominant position. Introverted intuition is really interesting. I don't want to, I honestly, introverted intuitives, I find, okay, so introverted intuition, yes, it's one of the more complicated functions to understand because it seems kind of mystical. Like, in truth, it's not. It's just it's like extrovert intuition, but it's flipped. So they have a harder time explaining where their ideas come from. Like extrovert intuition, it's pattern recognition. Um, you're following the forms behind things rather than the things themselves. You're reading between the lines, but it's a process that's going on. Um, I don't know if I could say unconsciously. Like, I don't have this experience, but from what I've heard. But anyway, so when they do get that aha moment, as you know, the dominant introverted intuitives, INTJs and INFJs always say, they get those aha moments. It hits them so strong that they can take that moment as being sent from God, or if they're religious, or you know, the cosmos, or just being like truth incarnate in an idea. You know what I mean? Because they don't understand where it comes from, and sometimes they mistake their subjective um, um, mental organization as an objective rule. And I'm not saying, like, I think a lot of times they're very insightful, but I've noticed INFJs and INTJs seem much more sure of themselves because of this than compared to, say, let's dominant extroverted intuitives or the extroverted intuitive types. Because extroverted intuitives can actually put into words where their thoughts are going, like it jumps around and we can see it because we're thinking of things externally. You know, we have external representations, like, yeah, you know, I was going to talk about some poetry, but I don't really want to, so, but we know exactly, I feel like I always know where the idea comes from. I can follow the path of which idea led to which idea led to which idea, which led to another idea, right? Like I can see the path quite clearly. Whereas with INFJs, they kind of are just kind of honing in slowly, and it's almost like it's in the background, or INTJs, and so it just hits them all at once. And I think it's because of the power of that. They can be, I think, almost like too confident in in what they think to be true. And that's not a bad thing necessarily. Like I think that's why a lot of the INFJ can be known as like the mystic type, because they are so sure of the visions that they have received from their introverted intuition, and they don't fully understand them themselves, so they think it is a gift from the heavens or something like that. When you have a lot of passion behind something and it's a positive idea, it's a good thing, because you have that kind of passion and other people pick up on it, and they're more likely to follow your ways. And if you're preaching good things, and that's a good thing. But I do think sometimes they just they can't explain themselves yet. They're so sure of it. I think they're almost too sure of themselves. I hope that doesn't offend anyone. That's just something that I think I've noticed. Okay, so that was the long one. You know what? I don't really have. I was kind of wondering if I was gonna think of something for introverted thinking. While I was making the video, I was kind of hoping something would come to me, but I'm not exactly sure what the bane of introverted thinking would be. I mean, it might be that sometimes they're so focused on the fine details of the issue at hand that they're ignoring all the external context surrounding the issue. Sorry, something just came from my kind of thing. But I'm not really sure, so maybe somebody could give me some responses in the comments below. What do you think the bane of dominant introverted thinking types are? Because I'm not entirely sure, and I don't want to sit with this video idea anymore. I want to move on, so I just wanted to get it out there. Okay, thanks for listening. Bye.